Pharrell why politics matters. Go to my iPad. Pharrell Williams calls for investigation after cousin shot dead by police. This is a BBC story. This is a BBC story talking about the shooting of his cousin. Now, when you go into this story,
this is a topic that's really a hot button topic in this. You know, for a long time, I talked about the radical right and the radical left, and people like me that's in the middle. You can't have an opinion that goes against either one of these groups because they're going to send their millions and they're going to come out and attack you. If you say anything against the radical right, they coming for you. But in the black community, if you are anything against the Democratic Party or say anything against them, they're going to come after you as if you're just supposed to be a Democrat. You're just supposed to go along with their talking points. If you say anything about DEI, you say anything about the programs that the Democrats have in place, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh my God, you're so dumb. You're politically ignorant. Now, y'all saw when I had my debate with Roland Martin, and we were going back and forth, right? He was going over he's skipping over everything that I was saying and only was using his own narrative, right? This is the stuff that they do. They don't want to have a real conversation, right? So when you look at all these Democratic policies and the politics and the DEI programs and all those things in place, when Obama was president, all kinds of cops was unaliving and pow and black people. Nothing was happening. It was happening under the Obama administration, right? We saw these things. We saw what Obama called black boys in Baltimore and all these things. This was your Democrats, right? Under the Democratic Party, you got immigrants coming in from everywhere. We've been gentrified out of the communities that we live in because the Democratic Party failed to help redevelop the people that's been supporting them where they can become the best versions of themselves. They've been living solely off the government and government programs that now when this administration come in and they start cutting all those things, they don't know what to do. They don't have no plan of action. So now you mad at Pharrell because he said something that you don't like about the DEI programs. You only don't like what he's saying because you don't have no plan of action of how to fix your problems in the black community. The Democratic Party has been a colossal failure in the black community. Now, does you have racism amongst the Republicans? Absolutely. Are they doing some real egregious things? Absolutely. But what is the game plan? Sit and cry about it? Don't build nothing and wait till you get back in the party? Wait till the Democrats get back in as if they're not racist as well? So let's go look at what Pharrell had to say, and then we'll come right back.
As we look at what's going on in the current political climate, I'm just saying I don't want to turn anybody off, but I hate politics. Like despise them. It's a magic trick that it's not real. I don't believe in either side, because I think when you pick a side, you are inadvertently supporting division. Yeah, it's not a popular point of view, but I just got to say, when I think about it, the wells are drying up, and okay, now the diversity's off the table, now equity's off the table, now inclusion's off the table. So that makes me ask myself, okay, so how do we survive? Well, are there black people here tonight? Yeah. And in your heart, do you think for what it is that you do and who you are, do you think you're the best? Okay, so do you want the job because you're black or because you're the best? The best. Do you want someone to support your startup because you're black or because you're the best? Yes. Right, so I think now for me it's about us having the best ambition. That's the reason why you should support these businesses. Yes, they have to be black and brown, but it should be based on the thesis that we're the best, not because we are a total shade of a skin color. That's a point of view that I have now that I'm resting on, and if diversity, equity, and inclusion ever comes back in style, cool. But in the meantime, I'm going to focus on being the best because I can bank on that, because that's what's going to get you the position. Where, I don't want you to give me anything. I want you to panic and not let me out the room because I'm the best.
So I absolutely have no problem with what Pharrell said, because you should want to be the best. You should want to be the best at your craft in everything that you do. And if you don't want to be the best, then something is wrong, right? We know in the DEI situation that who are the people that's judging based off the businesses? Because we know those businesses were set in place because of unfair practices. We know that already. But if we know these things, how come we don't have our own coalitions together as black people where we're running the Democratic Party, where we're making it move in a manner in which we think it should move to better our own communities? Because a lot of you out there are mad at the Democratic Party because they bringing in all these brown people. They overtaking your community in Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, and all these cities. And they still got you saying black and brown coalition. And the only way you can get funding for your programs is if you say black and brown coalitions, because black people are not the ones funding these programs. They're being funded by special interest groups whose special interest is allowing these immigrants to come into your community. That's why you hear all these people saying it's black and brown foolishness. You don't never hear Latinos say brown and black. Never. Never. And those organizations they have set in place is for their Latino constituents, for their group, not for black people. They only got black people saying black and brown because the money don't come from black people. But y'all sit and y'all go for this. The Republicans don't care nothing about you. The Democrats ain't your friend. They front all the work on the block. You can't bring your own work on the block. You got to work for them. And if you say anything against them, they coming for you. And they got people like D.L. Hughley in them that's coming out saying this.
Right versus wrong is a side. Good versus evil is a side. As a matter of fact, the very churches that we grew up with and the Bibles that we read, God required that we take a side. As a matter of fact, he said, if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out. In other words, he required that you take a side, that you stand for something or fall for nothing. Is you is or is you ain't is a side. Black people and brown people and women who've ascended needed somebody who took a side for their ascension. It was absolutely paramount to our forward movement that somebody take a side. I think Pharrell is a dope dude, but he is in his position right now because of his resume. Virgil Abloh was a guy who learned how to sew from his mother, who studied architecture, who worked with Fendi. He was so dope that he became the creative director. The first time in a company that had almost been 200 years old, the first time they ever had a black creative director was Virgil Abloh. And if you look at what fashion looked like before him and after him, he changed everything. He changed everything. He was so dope that his resume insisted that they take him, and he changed their fortune. Look at all the fashion houses before him. Everything was a derivative of what he did. And when he passed on, they didn't want somebody different. A company that only had one black person in 200 years took another one. And it wasn't Pharrell's resume that made him the obvious choice. It was his connection to the very culture that Virgil Abloh had introduced. The very culture he connected him to. If you look at what Virgil Abloh did, he was so dope that they said, not only are we going to have him, for the second time in our history, we're going to get a black dude. Now, it wasn't his resume that made him choose him. His resume wasn't so pristine that a fashion house of LVH's stature chose him. It was because Virgil Abloh had been so dope, we need somebody that keeps us connected to them. We need somebody that connects us to what this dope ass dude did. And I'm not saying Pharrell ain't dope, but it wasn't his resume that got him there. It was his skin color. You could have took his very resume and he would have been, if you took Pharrell without his skin color and his dope hat and his little glasses, he is not the director of LVMH. It was his skin color as much as anything else. And to me, it's a shame that so many people who now get to not take a side benefited from so many people.
See, this is where they're disingenuous because they talk to us as if we're stupid. We all know about the Pullman Porters and what we had to do to create our own middle class because they wasn't rocking with us. We know that they wasn't giving us burial insurance. We know that we wasn't able to acquire wealth through home ownership, through equity. We know that we had to get all kinds of executive orders put on the books to protect us because they wasn't giving us the proper jobs and contracts. We was being pushed out of so many things. We know this. That's why you had to have affirmative action set in place, right? And right after that, you had the DEI programs. The question I'm asking the Democratic Party is, what have you done to enforce these laws that's been on the books to protect black people, where you turn it into all people of color and put the black people in the back? So now you condition the black people to just blind follow you and make you think it's good versus evil, and the evil is only the Republicans and not on the Democratic side either. So you got my mama and everybody else, right? Everybody else, mama, really believing that because you didn't put the woman in there with the white husband, right? That's part of that Democratic side, that you just voted for the wrong people. Both sides are evil. But they're political set tripping on each other and got you in the middle picking sides. And you really believe Pharrell was right in what he said. He said right now, I want to be the best. I get it. We already know the history. We know the story. But then you got Roland Martin. He heard what he said, but he want to go another way, right? And talk to us as if we stupid, as if we know about politics and politics. We know that you need some form of government and politics to govern people, but the way it's being currently ran is trickery. That's what Pharrell was saying. But look at what Roland Martin does.
Pharrell, why politics matters. Go to my iPad. Pharrell Williams calls for investigation after cousin shot dead by police. This is a BBC story. This is a BBC story talking about the shooting of his cousin. Now, when you go into this story, it said a criminal investigation was ongoing. This is what the story says. But Pharrell says there are too many unanswered city and state questions, so it's calling for an investigation at a higher federal level. This one is symbolic and a first because I had to speak at my cousin's funeral and was choked up with emotions, Pharrell said on social media, alongside a shot of the funeral program. And it goes on. Pharrell has previously called for transparency, honesty, and justice from authorities. He talked about how the officers involved in the shooting of his cousin weren't wearing their body cameras. But it was the folks who actually, through politics, fought for the city to spend $5.5 million on body cameras. So, Pharrell, let me explain to you why politics, who you vote for, matters. This is from 2022 when you call for this investigation. So you call for a federal investigation. Pharrell, in 2022, your cousin was shot in 2021. In 2022, Pharrell, who was president? Biden. Who headed the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice? Kristen Clark. Guess what? There were more federal investigations of police action since Robert F. Kennedy was Attorney General. Now, Marilyn Garland was trash, but Kristen Clark did her job. Guess what, Pharrell? Donald Trump ain't investigating cops. If your cousin was killed right now, there would be no federal investigation. Donald Trump has made it clear, I want to give cops 100% immunity. Pharrell, that's politics. That's politics. Who is in the Oval Office determines the focus of the Department of Justice. So when you say, I hate politics, it's a magic trick, not real. What you don't understand is you are telling people politics doesn't matter, but when your cousin gets shot, you then want politics to intervene because your family was hurt. For real, that's politics. So who we vote for president has a direct correlation to whether or not we have a Department of Justice federally that will allow cops to operate with impunity or they will hold them accountable. So Pharrell, you personally wanted a federal investigation for your cousin. But if somebody right now, black, experienced what you and your family experienced, Pharrell, I'm telling you right now, there will be no support from Trump's DOJ. And do you know why, Pharrell? Because a lot of people said, quote, I hate politics. Because a lot of people, Pharrell, said it's a magic trick. Because a lot of people, 90 million Americans, did not vote for Pharrell because they said it's not real. Pharrell, politics becomes real when it becomes personal. And it became personal for you and your family when your cousin, Donovan Lynch, was shot and killed. And so I would hope you watch this segment. And Pharrell, it's a bunch of people in the same circles. You are more than willing to call me, email me, and I'll chop it up with you. But brother, don't ever call it a magic trick and not real. Because right now, there are people who look like me and you. There are people who buy your music, who go to your festivals, who support your products. Some folks who might buy Louis, who might support other stuff that you do. Those people, their lives are being impacted by politics. The folk who might lose health care, that's politics. The folk who are seeing SNAP benefits cut, Pharrell, that's politics. The federal workers from your home state of Virginia that are out of jobs, that's politics, Pharrell. Pharrell, when they look to build a highway in Virginia, that's politics. That's federal highway funds. Pharrell, when they looking to build a park in Virginia, that's politics, Pharrell. Pharrell, when they voted on the casino in Petersburg and in Richmond, that's politics, bruh. There's nothing in our life that politics plays no role in.
This is why you have the FBA grassroots, because y'all got to stop talking to us like we stupid. We know that we got to understand the laws within the municipalities that we live in, right? We know that. We know we're supposed to control the areas that we live in and the politics that goes thereof, right? But this is the thing. If you're not financially funding these politicians, they don't work for you. They don't work for you, Roland. So what are you talking about? Your day is over. Them talking points you're using is tired. Ain't nobody trying to hear that foolishness no more. So if Trump is in office and his DOJ won't report certain things. Well, when the Democrats was in for years, there was things happening and they was getting away with it. We already know what Joe Biden's record was, him and Strom Thurmond, when they wrote up all those bills. It wasn't just the 94 crime bill. It was the 86 crime bill, the 101 crack law that was written by your Democrat who was trying to be the drug czar, the 82 crime bill. The 88 crime bill, 84, way before the 94. And they got the black clergy and the Democrats to create these bills to lock up millions. And it was a bipartisan vote across both sides of millions of black people within the black community during the crack and heroin era. These people ain't our friends. They never been our friends. Let me say this to a lot of black mothers out there. Let me say this to a lot of older black mothers out there that's part of the church that really love Jesus. Let me say this. If you say that you love God, you really love God, and God is the all-knower, and everything is possible through Christ, right? Everything. So how can you be so hypocritical and say that you in church and you understand the word and you know God, but then you upset that Trump is in office? Because if Trump is in office, then it's God's will, not Satan's. It's God's will. And God is trying to get your attention to something. God is trying to wake you up to something that's been going on, but you so caught up in the world that you ain't even watching God. God is allowing this thing to happen to expose something. There's things that's happening right in front of your face where Racism is being brought to light. All of the shortcomings of the Democratic Party and Republican Party is being brought to light. And God is being able to show you, while you've been blindly supporting these Democrats for so long, what is happening in your community, how ill prepared you are. But you don't even see it. You so mad at Trump being in office that you don't even understand it as God's will. Because if it wasn't, it wouldn't happen. It's happening because it's God's will. He's allowing certain things to happen to get your attention. But you're too busy watching the world and not watching what God is allowing to happen and what God is doing in order to get you to move in the manner in which you're supposed to move to save your own community. By 2035, what is black communities going to look like under Democratic policies? Because I'm telling you now, when these Latinos and other Asians begin to really get their numbers up, they're not hiring you. You're more likely to get hired by a white person than a Latino person. And we all know that. Or Asian person. They ain't rocking with you like that. They got their own culture, their own people that they bring over from their countries, man. But y'all play too much. Y'all do too much religious set tripping and banging. Y'all play too much. Stop thinking that the grassroots don't know nothing. Nerves over, you know what, man? We ain't playing games with y'all, man. We not playing. You're more likely to get hired by a W person than a Latino person. You don't speak Spanish and you're not part of them. I already know. My mother's a Cuban. I'm sitting here telling my FBA family, me with an FBA father, if you don't speak Spanish or not part of that, they are not hiring you. Keep listening to these Democrats, man. I don't care for neither one of them. We don't owe them nothing. But they got you. So let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV. Leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time. Peace.